Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an honor to speak in the oldest institution, health institution of Pakistan. Thank you, Organizing Committee, for this. I'm the CEO of this hospital. We started with one hospital with an annual recurring budget of $1 billion. Now in 12 years' time, we have about 12 hospitals across Pakistan and in 41 districts of Pakistan we have, and impacting about 300,000 patients a month, with an annual recurring expense within $230 million. And the good thing is the majority of the funding is raised from within Pakistan. So talking about my topic today, the air in human is the most frequently used excuse in root cause analysis and disciplinary issues in our society. Which raises the question, at what point it becomes unacceptable to health? Let us apply this to a healthcare example. What is the acceptable frequency of medical personnel dropping a baby in a hospital nursery? 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, or 1 in a million, or never. This puts a perspective on what is quality and our responsibility to deliver it individually and collectively. Being leaders, all of us who lead teams are responsible for not only our own performance, but also for the performance of the individuals from our own team who have variable education, abilities, skill sets, and conscientiousness. The challenge seems to be insurmountable if one aspires to deliver consistent quality in a suboptimal human resource environment like the healthcare sector in Pakistan. In the blood banking world, it takes one human error to kill. This was a report, 10 thalassemia children gets HIV from transfusion in 2014. What are the challenges in blood banking? Human error is the #1 source of transfusion complications in blood banking with fatal consequences. Delivery of quality blood demands humans to be flawless in performing monotonous and repeated tasks. Challenges compound when you are looking for large volumes throughput in blood centers. Drawing 400 donors in 8 to 10 hours, preparing 1,200 blood products like platelets, taxols, and plasma within 6 hours of draw, performing 2,000 lab tests accurately and rapidly. Therefore, a decision of adopting an electronic system was inevitable. I was fortunate to have a passionate lady, Dr. Sabah Jamal. I was headhunting her as a pathologist, but I saw during the conversation that her passion is to develop total voluntary blood transfusion and so safe blood transfusion for every citizen of Pakistan. So when I told her that if we can have her vision established, so she said, I'll be a slave of this hospital. Extensive market search for IT solution result in data collection and data flow softwares enabling high throughput with a paperless system. However, the identification, elimination of human errors was not addressed. Our requirement was something far beyond what was currently available. Our aspiration was to create a system that minimized errors to zero or near zero, ensuring that all regulations were followed all the time, even in the face of high throughput. The challenge was how to make this dream a reality. We made a detailed list of possible human errors in the blood banking activities, then performed a root cause analysis for each human error, finally defined preventive step for each cause, and made it paperless. Whilst the list of human errors is long, following is an illustration of some of the major groups of error was addressed. Data entry errors. Minimize the data entry fields where unavoidable, that is donor demographics. We approach process adherence in a wide variety of ways. Option-based drop-down selection enabling rapid identical data entry formats, selection-based flow, restricting the users to select from within a range of known and defined options, which are color-coded. Dysregulating responses. Barcode scanning used for transmission of critical data on blood unit. Just to share a comparison of manual data entry and barcode data entry. Time required for manual active entry was 4 to 6 seconds. Accuracy 1 error in 300 characters. Now the barcode. Time required is 1 to 2 seconds. 1 error is, you can see the zeros. Memory lapse error. Drug is sealed with autofill, color coded. We can't take blood patient on beta blockage. We can't take blood patient using insulin. So it is inbuilt into whenever you enter, the system will tell you whether you can accept this donor or not. Red means no. Some patients, some drugs are there where we can delay for 14 days or we accept. Auto transmission of action messages to the individual, performing it consecutively in the process. Steps in the process. Basically, within 45 minutes of a draw, the components have to be prepared. If the time of taking blood elapses more than that, the system will not allow you to prepare platelets. Real-time verification of all decisions performed by software against truth tables of all possibilities. Product substitution truth table. You can see where you can substitute. In O positive, you cannot substitute. At any QMS, that is quality management system violation, the system identifies the error and informs the users by a dialog box. It stops from proceeding further till the violation is corrected. Thus the error is prevented, the individual has committed it, but the software has held it from occurring. Alerts the admin by email. Whenever someone breaks the system, an email is generated to the administrator. And the system is this, then the administrator has to respond within a few hours. If he doesn't, then it is sent to the director of the blood bank, and if she doesn't take any step within 24 hours, then it comes to me. These email alerts facilitate corrective action and processes control. Their performance evaluation is done on the system. Virtual blood banking expert. So we call this our intelligent reliable blood banking KEMU. Has all the blood banking rules at its fingertips. Overlooking the shoulder of each team member, ensuring that all regulations are followed all the time. Transforming all members of the blood banking team into conscientious individuals with consistent performance. And it never takes time off or goes to sleep. This was a paper which shows if you see the lowest transmission error with it is 7.7 in 50. A short documentary will
can still cost a life.
So I congratulate you on developing this technology solution, This is a problem across the world, and it seems that in terms of quality, we are addressing that in Pakistan. So thank you for that. Can I invite Professor Ghayasul Amin Tayyab? He will talk about how to eradicate hepatitis C in Pakistan by 2030. You will probably know this is a worldwide target, and many countries are well on the way of achieving that. Pakistan also has a plan, and he will tell us how are we progressing along that track. Just to put this in context, Pakistan has the greatest number of hepatitis C patients, second only to China in the world. Compare Pakistan's population to China's population, and that gives you an idea about the scale of the problem. It is alarming, to say the least. I would also invite you to see Professor Rias's unit's poster. They are presented just outside, where they have undertaken population screening in areas near Lahore, and as opposed to the normally quoted figure of 5%, it is actually between 11 and 12%, which is even worse than thought. So over to Professor Ghayasul Amin Tayyab.
Wonderful kind introduction, and thank you very much organizers for inviting me here to talk on a very important subject, which is something close to my heart, close to almost every one of us. And let me tell you that this is a problem which is not a problem of a single household. Let me tell you that it is a problem of almost every household. And it will not be a wrong thing to confess that lucky is the family in which a hepatitis C patient is not present at the moment. To be honest, almost in each and every family, there is one patient of hepatitis C sitting, either known or somebody who is yet to know about his disease. Okay. So, coming to my topic, I remember very well. I'm thankful to Professor Naudali Marisa, who is my mentor, who was my professor when I was working in East Medical Ward here in New Hospital after graduating from King Edward Medical College. At that time it was a college, not a university. He encouraged and supported me in my journey into the gastroenterology. East Medical Unit was known for the activities in the gastroenterology ward at that time. Since his patient was in diabetes, he tried to attract me into the diabetes as well, but then I was more into the gastroenterology side, but he was very kind to permit me to continue in the gastroenterology. I'm really thankful for him. So, at that time the hall was small, population was not that big, and then population of Punjab was also not that big, population of Pakistan was not all that big. But with the changing time, even in the changing scenario, with the changing time, the ever-growing population of Pakistan, Punjab and Lahore, unfortunately we have not developed to that extent in the social sector, and as a result, communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases have grown substantially, and unfortunately, hepatitis C is one of them. If I look back at my career, when I was a house officer, hepatitis C was not known at that time. The first time the description of hepatitis C came in 1989. But till that time, in the general medical units of my hospital, it was diabetes, ischemic heart disease, pneumonia, tuberculosis, and then in between, few patients suffering from chronic hepatitis, most of them hepatitis B, few of them suffering from hepatitis C. But then, later on, when I joined as faculty in Islamic Medical College in 1995 after coming back from the UK, let me tell you that 50% were suffering from some kind of complication of hepatitis C. We were doing loads and loads of ventilation, and when I became professor in 2006, it was an era of complications, people presenting with complications, end-stage liver disease, tumors, and for the past 8 to 10 years, what we have seen is that the number of people who are suffering from hepatocellular carcinoma, starting from 6th in the country, now it is the second commonest tumor in the country, which indicates that how heavy this disease is going. And look at this map that we can see that Pakistan is in the red zone, where that means that more than 6% of the population suffering from hepatitis C. If we see that the number of people suffering from liver-related death, this is a recent article published in Lancet, just came out of the press on 15th of December. You can see that if you look at the Pakistan and compare green, red, blue, dark blue and others yellow, you can see that hepatitis B and C, they stand out the most common cause of the liver-related deaths in the country. And if you look at the cirrhosis-related deaths, you can see that hepatitis C is by far the commonest reason of the death, liver-related death in the country. And if we go a little further, acute hepatitis, which we all understand that acute hepatitis C is diagnosed relatively more difficult, with more difficulty. But then hepatitis E, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, they are by far the commonest, but hepatitis C is no way far from that. And the other thing that I've said, that liver cancer related deaths, and as a cause, you can see that in Pakistan, hepatitis C is the commonest cause of liver related death, liver cancer death, and then hepatitis B, and then the other thing. Now, if you look at this survey, in 2008, we can see that 8.8 million population was suffering, and we are the second most viremic nation on earth. We have a big population, but not as big as India, not as big as China, but in terms of percentage, in terms of total number of people who suffer from hepatitis C, let me tell you that we have a huge population suffering from hepatitis C, and right now we can say that it's not 8.8 million, roughly about 12 million of our population, or even more than that, is suffering from hepatitis C. And a survey which was done in 2008 that shows 6% of our population. In 2018, the similar survey was done in Punjab, which showed that 8%. And in a recent molecular elimination community-based survey that we did, the population percentage came out to be 11.1%. Let me tell you that these are representative figures. These are not extrapolated figures, and one can see that hepatitis B and C is going up and up in the community. And unless we do something definite, unless we do something robust, we know that in the public health sector, a problem which is already has gone significant, is gone big. In the coming days, this problem is going to get even bigger. And I welcome Professor Yasmin Rashid in the hall. She is Professor of Gynae in our Ministry.
I'm sorry for the interruption to Professor Tayyib's talk. Let me welcome Professor Yasmin Rashid, our favorite teacher and a very energetic health minister. We met her last year, and I don't think she has sat still even for more than a few hours during the past 1 year. Accompanying her in the procession were students studying at the KE from 16 friendly countries. So I am very pleased to see that KE has maintained its cosmopolitan character over all these years. So I will ask Professor Reyes to continue her talk, and after that we will invite Professor Yasmin for her talk. Professor Yasmin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atta. But let me tell you that this problem which I have been highlighting in terms of numbers, in terms of magnitude, this is not just close to my heart, it's not just close to few people in the country. This problem is close to the heart of Professor Yasmin Rashid as well, because being a person from medical profession, she's also seen the number of people suffering from hepatitis and its complication growing up in a huge number, and being a public health servant, being a public health expert, she knows the magnitude of the problem, she understands the problem. So what have been the successes that we have obtained, what we have gained until now, and these successes have been under the leadership of Professor Yasmin Rashid in the hepatitis elimination program. And first of all, sensitization. Are we sensitized to this problem? And till last night, I've been trying to sensitize the younger population, the younger group sitting in the hall. And similarly, I understand that the people in the policy making, people in the political circle, they're all sensitized to the magnitude of the problem. Do we identify the problem? Yes, we do identify the problem. Have we drafted the solution? Yes, we have the solutions. And do we have adequate infrastructure? In the coming slides, I shall show you that we have the adequate infrastructure, provided that we get the fund, provided that we get the blessings of Professor Yasmin Rashid and her government. We are definitely on the job, we are definitely on the track, and we will try to eliminate hepatitis C by 2030. And do we have the management tools? Again, let me tell you that we do have the management tools, monitoring and audits are all there. And let's try to go through them one by one. I've already said that the hepatitis C problem is getting bigger and bigger. In 2008, it was 6.7%, now it's 8.9%, and the microelimination survey that we just concluded, it is on to 11.1%. So meaning by that problem is getting bigger. We have the geographic mapping. We understand very well that these are the high prevalence areas where the number of people suffering from hepatitis C are relatively more. And then we know the areas where relatively the problem is less, although as per the WHO standards, still we are at a higher prevalence areas in those areas. Do I identify the problem? We understand that if base year 2015, when we started with the hepatitis control program, now turned into hepatitis elimination program, we were having roughly about 231,000 new infections, new people getting infected with hepatitis C every year, and out of them 100,000 were getting diagnosed. And if we are not able to control it, let me tell you, the upper graphs are, if we are not able to make a good intervention, this is going to be the magnitude of the problem. And if we are able to intervene in a proper way, we are going to bring the morbidity and mortality rising subsequent to the acquisition of infection with hepatitis C in terms of more than 10,000 hepatocellular cancer deaths, more than 7 million viremic cases, and more than 24,000 liver-related deaths, along with the decompensated liver cirrhosis by 2030, big number, and more than 45% will be in the age group under the age of 50, meaning by the money earning age group, and all this. Having drafted some solution, let me tell you that in partnership with WHO, in partnership with USAID, in partnership with the international agencies, these are the 5 points on which we have been working. First of all, testing, then treatment, harm reduction, which we all understand that unless we work on the risk factors of hepatitis C, we continue to have more number of hepatitis B, more number of HCV, and similarly HIV is also catching up. Right now it is somewhere around 2.5%. In the coming days we expect that with the number of unstreamed blood transfusion, with the number of unsafe practices, the hepatitis C, B, and HIV is going to go up. Blood safety, you've just heard Professor Bari giving a very nice talk on this issue. And finally, injection safety. Unless we have a safe injection, unless we come down with the therapeutic injection from 13 per person per year down to maybe 1 to 1.5 per year per person, we will not be able to achieve the effect. And this is the legislative framework that we have achieved in 2018, under which we have been able to do robust surveillance, AD syringes or structural syringes, restoration barbers, verification, safe blood transfusion, compulsory hepatitis B vaccination for all the medical students, all the healthcare workers, and the one with the high-risk professions, healthcare waste management, proper management, dialysis, surgeries, and organ transplant organization, and testing prisons. These were the things. Then Punjab Healthcare Commission has been doing its job in giving us a safe environment, safe working environment in the hospitals, and then Safe Blood Transfusion Act and all these interventions that you said. Finding the missing millions through the 145, the district headquarters hospitals with good 27 incinerators which are functional by and large. This is the working strategy that we started in 2017. It was a three-pronged strategy. You heard Professor Hafiz Jasa highlighting the importance of PKLI. At that time, it was a three-pronged strategy, and under the kind guidance of Professor Yasmin Rashid, it was brought down to one umbrella program, that is hepatitis elimination program. These are timelines of hepatitis elimination program in the primary secondary health department, starting from 2005 when we started off with interferon injections. But prevention was the major key. Right now, the difference is that prevention, along with treatment of the reservoir of the hepatitis C, is the most important challenge, and that is something which we understand that that's going to bring the balance. Similarly, in the special health care department, starting from 2005 up to 2019, till its merger, these have been activities in which one important aspect has been development of capacity in terms of starting new gastroenterology services, gastroenterology units, and endoscopy services. And similarly, in the PKLI, you can see the timelines of PKLI in a very short time span. It has come up as a very nice instrument in this serving the health department. Now, if you look at this chart, this is the dashboard picture of hepatitis control program at the primary secondary. This is our nerve center. This controls the overall activity of the hepatitis related. Now, there's always a question that we always talk big. We always talk in terms of making up an effort. But do we have an infrastructure? Under the kind guidance of Professor Yasmin Rashid and the health department, let me tell you, and let me tell you with big honor that yes, we have a very good infrastructure going all the way down to LHWs, and if we are provided with the funds, if we are provided with the support of all the people, not just the government, the support has to come from the social sector as well, we will be able to deliver the kind of effort, the kind of energy which is there to eliminate hepatitis by 2030, the commitment that we have made with the WHO. And finding the missing millions is right now the problem, because there are more number of people in the community who do not know about the status of hepatitis C as compared to people who know and who have not got themselves treated. We have 130 centers in the district and tehsil headquarters, and then we have got 44 centers in the 17 centers in the special healthcare department, meaning by the teaching hospitals attached to the autonomous medical institutes. And then we have the adequate diagnostics, although they need to be brought down under some umbrella, and maybe we need to reduce the number of diagnostic labs as well, so that we may be able to do that. We have the preventive vaccination centers at all these places, and anybody who wants to get them vaccinated, or the people in whom they have a person suffering with hepatitis B or C, they can get themselves vaccinated. Now, management tools. Do we have adequate management tools? This is the service delivery package available, implemented, and being carried out in the hepatitis clinic program at the moment. The organizers are telling me that it's time to wrap up. From my side, I know that I still have 2 minutes, but okay, I have to listen to them. And then the management tool, in each hepatitis clinic, we have a human resource of 2 to 9 persons with the treatment guidelines which have been prepared, handed over to the department, and endorsed by the technical advisory group in Islamabad. We are doing training, medicines have been procured, they are being dispensed, diagnostics are available, and with monitoring and audits are being done regularly by the department. And the challenges, we have to integrate the various stakeholders. We have to effectively implement the EMR and use the dashboard more effectively for the audits and prevention of further spread of this infection. Harm reduction is a collective responsibility of all of us. Blood safety is a challenge, and Dr. Bari has already highlighted very effectively. Injection safety can be done only unless we all medical professionals will join our hands together with the social sector. Unless we join our hands together, we will not be able to do it better. We have to bring in the family physicians. Monitoring of the therapy outcomes is being done, but it needs to be done more effectively. Diagnostics are to be made available right down to the grassroots level, meaning by in the tehsil headquarters hospitals and in the PHU and district at the rural headquarters hospital. And finally, once again, finding the missing millions and taking the elimination package to the doorsteps of the people. That is the most important thing. Unless we are able to do that, we will not be able to do it effectively, and dual-step, single-stop solution in surveillance, training, contact tracing and treatment. That's our mission, and under the guidance of Professor Yasmin Rashid, I'm sure that we'll be able to achieve. And finding the missing millions, new infections still occurring, risk behaviors and factors need to be changed, and unless we work on them effectively, majority do not know about the infected states, they continue to spread this infection, and by taking the elimination to the most of the people, involving the different stakeholders, I'm sure by 2030 we will be able to eliminate hepatitis C. Thank you all for patient listening.
Her topic for discussion, I initially thought should be healthcare in the time of the IMF. But I think the actual topic that is written down is the challenges and achievements during the past 1 year. I think both achievements and challenges are considerable. So before I call her to give her presentation, I will hand over to Khalid Masood Gontal to welcome her. Professor Khalid Masood Gontal.
Professor Yasmin Rashid, I think she has been our teacher, mentor and role model. तज़किरा किया ग़ियासुन नबी तैयब ने एक हेपेटाइटिस की प्रिवेंशन और उसकी कंट्रीब्यूशन में, आई थिंक प्रोफेसर यास्मीन राशिद के टेन्योर में जितना हेल्थ सेक्टर की सरपरस्ती और काम हो रहा है, दैट इज़ अनप्रेसिडेंटेड। और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है कि शी इज़ अवेलेबल राउंड द क्लॉक। किंग एडवर्ड से जब आवाज़ गई फातिमा जराज मेडिकल यूनिवर्सिटी से, एक दिन चकवाल में, रावलपिंडी में और दूसरा दिन डीजी खां में। मैडम, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर पैट्रनाइजेशन एंड फॉर योर सपोर्ट। आज मैं शुक्रिया भी अदा करता हूँ और वेलकम भी करता हूँ केमकाना और केमका यूके के ऑफिस बेरर को, डॉक्टर तुफैल, आयशा नजीब और इनके तमाम कोलीग्स को, और अतर अहमद सईद का बहुत शुक्रिया जिस अंदाज में ये इंटरनेशनल सेकंड सिम्पोजियम इन्होंने अरेंज किया। एंड आई एम श्योर अगर आपकी टीम इसी अंदाज में दिस विल मेक दिस अ रेगुलर एनुअल इवेंट। और यहाँ पे जब मैं अतर का शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ, साइंटिफिक कमेटी की चेयरपर्सन प्रोफेसर आयशा शौकत और चेयरपर्सन इस सारे इवेंट के इरशाद हुसैन कुरैशी, सेक्रेटरी असगर नकी, एडवाइज़र प्रोफेसर असद असलम खान, प्रोफेसर सायरा अफसर और मेरी तमाम फैकल्टी का शुक्रिया। और मैडम, आज सुबह जो हेल्थ रिफॉर्म सेमिनार है, इसमें दी एमिनेंट स्पीकर्स दे हैव डिस्कस्ड द इनोवेशंस। आईटी का तज़किरा हो या डिजीज़ की प्रेजेंटेशन, क्यूरेटिव एस्पेक्ट, प्रिवेंटिव एस्पेक्ट, सोशल एस्पेक्ट, और इसमें मैं ये समझता हूँ एट द एंड ऑफ दिस सेमिनार we will have a concrete policies and future guideline for healthcare sector। और जो स्पीकर्स आज सुबह से डेलीब्रेट करते रहे, इसमें मेरे क्लास फेलो और काफ़ी क्लास फेलो अजीमुद्दीन जाहिद, फैसल सुल्तान, डॉक्टर तुफैल, राहिल अहमद सिद्दीकी, हाफिज एजाज, नासिर इस्लाम भट्टी, ताबिंदा दोगल, आर तारिक अजीम, नदीम रिजवी, कामरान चीमा, शफीक गिल, सुहेल चुगताई, साकिब शफी, अब्दुल बारी साहब स्पेशल कराची से तशरीफ लाए, फरीद जफर हमारे हेड ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन, कदीर बड़ाए, ग़ियासुन नबी तैयब, मदीन इजहार और हमारी फॉरेन स्पीकर फ्रॉम यूके डॉक्टर ली होडर्स। इन तमाम ने आई थिंक दे डेलिब्रेटेड ऑन इनोवेटिव टॉपिक्स एंड वेरी एमिनेंट पीपल दे आर सिटिंग इन दिस हॉल। आखिर में सिर्फ मैं दो का तज़किरा करना चाहूँगा। जब मैं केमका यूके की मीटिंग में गया तो देन आई फेल्ट वेरी प्राउड कि ये कैम्पोलियन किंग एडवर्ड का जो हिस्टोरिकल प्रेस्टीजियस इंस्टीट्यूशन है, जिसकी 160 साल हिस्ट्री है, जो 1860 से लाहौर मेडिकल स्कूल के नाम से कायम हो रहा है, और ये जेबी स्टीवन ने 1860 में आके पहले 10 साल इंस्टीट्यूशन को लीड किया, और ये तमाम लोग आते रहे इस हिस्टोरिकल और प्रेस्टीजियस इंस्टीट्यूशन के जो ग्रेजुएट हैं, जो कैम्पोलियन है, किस अंदाज में केई का झंडा बुलंद कर रहे हैं और किस अंदाज में किंग एडवर्ड को और पाकिस्तान को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं। आज इस हाल में दो शख्सियतें बैठी हैं, उमर सादात पीछे बैठा है, और मुझे देख के और इंतहाई खुशी हुई कि यूके में हंटेरियन प्रोफेसर 70 साल के बाद अगर कोई ब्राउनिश बना है वो उमर सादात है, किंग एडवर्ड मेडिकल यूनिवर्सिटी का ग्रेजुएट है। और मैंने उमर सादात का तज़किरा किया, पर्टिकुलरली यंग कैंपोनियर और स्टूडेंट बैठे हैं, ही इज़ ए रोल मॉडल फॉर यू। आप गूगल्स करके देखें उमर सादात की क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन है और क्या इनोवेशन है इन द फील्ड्स ऑफ मेडिसिन। और अभी मैंने गेट से आते हुए देखा तंजीम हैदर, जब मैं फर्स्ट ईयर का स्टूडेंट है, ही वॉज द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट यूनियन ऑफ किंग एडवर्ड मेडिकल यूनिवर्सिटी, और यूके में जाके पता लगा मुझे और उससे पहले भी कि क्वींस ने हेल्थ का जो बेस्ट प्राइज बरतानिया का दिया वो एक कैंपोलियन को और वो तंजीम हैदर को। वी आर प्राउड ऑफ यू तंजीम हैदर एंड उमर सादात। और मैं ये समझता हूँ ये रोल मॉडल्स हैं किंग एडवर्ड मेडिकल यूनिवर्सिटी के कैंपोलियन। दे आर प्राइड फॉर दिस कंट्री, दे आर प्राइड फॉर दिस वर्ल्ड। और इंशाल्लाह एक कलेक्टिव एफर्ट और टीम स्पिरिट के साथ इसी अंदाज में किंग एडवर्ड का झंडा बुलंद करते रहेंगे। और मैं अपने असातिज़ा इकराम जो यहाँ तशरीफ फरमाए, ख़ासतौर पे सर्जरी और मेडिसिन के फादर्स दोनों यहाँ बैठे हैं, प्रोफेसर अब्दुल मजीद चौधरी, मुझे ऑनर है, मैंने असिस्टेंट एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर के तौर पे इनके साथ काम किया। आई हैव बीन द हम्बल स्टूडेंट ऑफ प्रोफेसर मजीद चौधरी, और हम सारे शागिर्द हैं प्रोफेसर महमूद अली बलक के जो तशरीफ फरमाए। आज का दिन मेरे लिए बहुत खुशी का दिन है और मैडम इस सेशन को चेयर कर रही है। ग्रेट ऑनर फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस। थैंक यू एवरीबडी एंड थैंक यू ऑनरेबल हेल्थ मिनिस्टर, एंड वी वेलकम यू to the podium, to the stage for your address as the chief guest, Honorable Minister for Health. Let us welcome Professor Dr. Yasmin Rashid.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am extremely honored that I have been invited to the 39th Annual International Symposium of King Edward Medical University in collaboration with Kamkana and KEMU. I had actually been asked to give a presentation. I would have loved to make a presentation if I hadn't been running back and forth between law and order meetings and whatever we have been going through the last 1 week. You know what happened where PIC was concerned, but I'm at this particular forum, I'm extremely grateful to my doctors that even after this sort of a situation which arose in PIC, the doctors showed restraint and continued working in their institutions. We should give them a loud clap, and they must be. I really felt very proud because otherwise, so on the drop of a hat, ये अस्पताल बंद करने की कोशिश करते हैं। ये पहली दफे हुआ है कि they rose above their own personal problems and they looked after patients. I'm extremely grateful to that. Definitely, there's a huge challenge where health is concerned, and everybody understands that. And of course, the biggest challenge that we have is the budget. Whatever we do, although I'm still very grateful that the Prime Minister of Pakistan and Chief Minister Mr. Osman Buzdar are all prioritizing health. And for this particular reason, if any other budget is cut, at least I don't get that cut in the health budget. And this particular year, I got 16% of the total budget, which is a huge chunk out of the constrained resources that we have. And therefore, the biggest, of course, is the health budget. However, we are trying our level best to do whatever we are doing. I'd like to continue on from what Basul Nabi Tayyib talked about. Now, that is something which is extremely alarming. The problem is this: we still do not have any vaccination for hepatitis C. अब क्योंकि hepatitis C की vaccination नहीं है, तो आप उसकी prevention एक तरीके से कर सकते हैं कि बंदे को infection ना लगे। और ये अभी मैं आपको बताती चली जाऊँ, एक माइक्रो एलिमिनेशन प्रोग्राम है WHO का, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का, जो हमने अभी चंद दिन पहले, यानी कोई तकरीबन 1 महीने पहले पायलट किया है ननकाना के अंदर। और वहाँ है तो 22,000 की आबादी, लेकिन क्योंकि स्क्रीनिंग जो है 5 साल से बड़ी उम्र जो बच्चे हैं उनकी स्क्रीनिंग नहीं होती। जब हमने स्क्रीनिंग की 18,000 लोगों की, तो जो अफसोसनाक बात है, एक गांव के अंदर अफसोसनाक बात ये है कि 1700 से ज़ायद बंदे पॉजिटिव हेपेटाइटिस सी के हैं। Now that was extremely alarming. Why? Because if 1,700 people have come out positive in a population of 18,000, what we are seeing here today, it might be an area of high prevalence. लेकिन आपने जो statistics आपके सामने यासना के तैयब पेश कर रहे थे, उसमें 8 और 9% कह रहे थे हेपेटाइटिस। इस हिसाब से तो हमने देखा कि ये 14% तक है। Now this is the sort of prevalence, और ये this is the new program which WHO wants to bring in. This is a very expensive program, which means you've got to do mass screening, which means every person has to be screened. Then once you have found that the person has been screened, then you start, and then he comes out positive for hepatitis C, you start treating the patient and ensure that the virus is totally eliminated, which is again a very, very expensive procedure. So this has to be done, and at the moment, of course, because of budget, we are restrained, but we are at the moment still looking after more than, at the moment, regular treatment जो है वो 60,000 लोगों को रेगुलर इस वक्त हेपेटाइटिस सी की ट्रीटमेंट मिल रही है जो पंजाब हुकूमत दे रही है। जब उनके 3 महीने खत्म होंगे तो अगले 60,000 हम लेंगे और उससे आगे। लेकिन ये कोई दिस इज नो वे, I mean I believe in it, this is no way, because we have always never thought of health, how health has been taught to us. हम तो जब स्टूडेंट्स थे तो बिस्मिल्लाह इसी बात से होती थी, प्रिवेंशन इज बेटर देन क्योर, प्रिवेंशन इज बेटर देन क्योर। एंड ऑफ द डे जब हम बात करते हैं तो हम क्योर की बात कर रहे होते हैं। आज तक हम प्रिवेंशन की बात नहीं करते। हम कभी ये नहीं सोचते कि हम किस तरह हालात बेहतर करेंगे। हमारा हमसाया मुल्क है ईरान। अभी पिछले दिनों मैंने अपने स्पेशल सेक्रेटरी को ख़ास तौर पे भेजा। मैंने कहा आप जाके देख के आइए और आपको फिर सिस्टम समझ आएगा कि वहाँ क्यों नहीं, साथ वाला हमसाया मुल्क है, कि वहाँ क्यों नहीं ये सारे मसले। इसलिए कि उनका जो प्राइमरी सेकेंडरी हेल्थ केयर है वो इतना मजबूत है और इतना इट्स सो स्ट्रॉन्ग, it ensures proper prevention of all diseases right at your doorstep. And although we have a huge infrastructure, but throughout, somehow or the other, as I think physicians and major जो हम लोग काम करते हैं tertiary care hospitals में, we work more on the curative side. तो हमारी कोशिश होती है कि क्यूरेटिव में और पैसे लगाओ और पैसे ये भी कर लो, माइक्रोस्कोप भी ले आओ, उसके बाद अंदर हमने शायद 2 ऑपरेशन ही करने हैं लेकिन ले आओ, बड़ा प्रेस्टीजियस है, माइक्रो बच्चों ने नहीं देखना, माइक्रोस्कोप लगा दो। फिर उसके बाद आई स्टिल रिमेंबर अ माइक्रोस्कोप कमिंग इन गंगाराम हॉस्पिटल, वो हमारे सर के ऊपर लटका दिया गया था, उसमें 1 ऑपरेशन नहीं हुआ। तो एंड ऑफ द डे व्हेन आई थिंक अबाउट हाउ money has been wasted trying to put up curative things and never concentrating on prevention. So let me assure you where this government is concerned, because although I was basically a clinician and as an obstetrician gynecologist, I had always worked in the hospital, but the additional training that I had was I was also the president of Pakistan Medical Association. So a lot of public health that you talked about, and you had a lot of opportunity to go and see things how they were happening, and you met a lot of people talking about how important prevention is, how important primary health care is. So I naturally had a far bigger vision, and I still remember मैं यहाँ KEMU मेडिकल कॉलेज में उस ज़माने में पढ़ाती थी, तो मैंने यहाँ एक प्रोग्राम शुरू किया जिसको हमने कहा था सेफ मदरहुड इनिशिएटिव। जिस सेफ मदरहुड इनिशिएटिव के तहत हम लोगों ने ये किया था कि हमारे अपने डॉक्टर्स जो हैं, बजाय ये कि मरीज़ हमारे पास आएँ, हमने कोशिश की थी कि शेखपुरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट को हम अडॉप्ट कर लें और वहाँ के डिस्ट्रिक्ट हेडक्वार्टर हॉस्पिटल, तहसील हेडक्वार्टर, उसके बाद बेसिक हेल्थ यूनिट्स, रूरल हेल्थ सेंटर्स जो हमने अडॉप्ट किए हुए थे, हमारे डॉक्टर्स जाके, विच इज़ आवर पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट्स अंडर सुपरविजन ऑफ सीनियर रजिस्ट्रार्स, वर्कड देयर इन द बेसिक हेल्थ यूनिट्स टू इंश्योर प्रॉपर एंटीनेटल केयर and picked up all those 15% complications which would end up in some sort of disaster and ensured that they reach hospital in time. We also ensured the presence of our doctors in Tehsil headquarters, in DHQ, and that actually gave me a huge insight on what we were losing. इतना बड़ा आपका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है और उसको हम कभी इस्तेमाल ही नहीं कर रहे थे। तो लेट मी टेल यू व्हाट द गवर्नमेंट इज डूइंग नाउ। सबसे बड़ी ये बात है कि आपने मुझसे पूछा कि हुकूमत इस वक्त क्या कर रही है। हुकूमत इस वक्त कंसंट्रेट कर रही है प्राइमरी और सेकेंडरी हेल्थ केयर को। इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि हमने टर्शियरी वालों को छोड़ दिया है, लेकिन हमने टर्शियरी वालों से कहा है जो है ना आपके पास उसी में आप अच्छा काम करें, जो हमारे पास प्राइमरी वाले हैं ना उनको हम डेवलप करें। तो जो सबसे बड़ा मसला मेरे सामने आया वो ये आया, और ये नेचुरली ये मेरा ख्याल है दुनिया का हर बंदा समझता है, कोई ऐसा फिज़ोखौरस का मैं कोई वो बता तो नहीं रही, थ्योरम नहीं बता रही कि भाई अगर किसी अस्पताल में एक डॉक्टर ना हो तो अस्पताल नहीं चलेगा। मैं 2000 की बात है जब कहत आया था बलूचिस्तान में, उस ज़माने में PMA की सदर थी, तो हम एक बहुत बड़ा कंटिजेंट जो है वो खाने का सामान और सब कुछ लेके गए थे उस इलाके के अंदर। अजीमुद्दीन ज़ाहिद भी मेरे साथ थे, हम सारे वहाँ पहुँचे। तो हमें बहुत कुछ 100-150 किलोमीटर दूर नाग बासीमा उस इलाके में गए, तो अचानक एक गाँव के बीच में सफ़ेद रंग के संगे मरमर की बहुत ही खूबसूरत बिल्डिंग नजर आई। हमने गाड़ी रुकवाई, मैंने कहा भाई रुको ये क्या है, मतलब इस सारे बयाबान के अंदर ये क्या खड़ा, तो पता चला ये अस्पताल है। हम अस्पताल के अंदर चले गए, बड़ा खूबसूरत अस्पताल बना हुआ था, इक्विपमेंट भी था, अल्ट्रासाउंड मशीन भी पड़ी हुई थी, खाली, क्यों डॉक्टर कोई नहीं था। तो नेचुरली आपको इक्विपमेंट तो नहीं चलाएगा ना अस्पताल, और ना ये है कि भाई खूबसूरत बिल्डिंग होगी तो वो चलाएगा, असल तो डॉक्टर ने चलाना था। तो हम द डे वी केम इन, वी लुक्ड एट व्हाट वाज द वैकेंसी ऑफ ह्यूमन रिसोर्स, व्हाट वाज द वैकेंसी ऑफ ह्यूमन रिसोर्स इन द हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट, एंड यू विल बी शॉक्ड, वी हैड 50% वैकेंसी। We were expecting 100% performance from departments with 50% vacancy. यानी 50% लोग मिसिंग हैं, आप कहते हैं भाई आप 100% काम क्यों नहीं करते। और मसला ये है कि हम ओवरलोडेड हैं at the top of teaching institutions. You got 1 professor, associate, assistant, 4 assistant. हर बंदे के 8 ट्रेनीज हैं, तो एक जब में गफीर होता है एक यूनिट के अंदर, वहाँ यानी एक मरीज के ऊपर माशाल्लाह 2 डॉक्टर होते हैं। आप वहाँ जाओ, बड़े बड़े 350 बेडेड अस्पताल है। अब मैं शेखुपुरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट हेडक्वार्टर अस्पताल 650 बेडेड अस्पताल, और वहाँ नंबर ऑफ डॉक्टर्स कितने हैं, वहाँ नंबर ऑफ डॉक्टर्स 70 है, 80 है। तो ये दिस इज ऑल एन अपसाइड डाउन सिस्टम एंड वी हैड टू इम्प्रूव इट। सो ओवर द लास्ट 1 year, what we miraculously did, we have employed 14,000 doctors. Now that's not a small number that I'm talking about. 14,000 डॉक्टर हमने एम्प्लॉय किया, 9,000 की पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन, जिसके अंदर को 1100 जो हैं वो उस्तादों को किए यानी फैकल्टी को, बाकी हमने मेडिकल ऑफिसर्स किए, बिकॉज हमारे बेसिक हेल्थ यूनिट्स खाली पड़े हुए थे, रूरल हेल्थ सेंटर्स खाली पड़े हुए थे। और अब अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह इस साल में 96%, 96% PHUs now have doctors, और वो भी मेरा ख्याल है, I should give credit to the previous government for took a very sensible decision. उन्होंने सेंट्रल इंडक्शन पॉलिसी रख दी और उसने कहा कि जो बंदा बेसिक हेल्थ यूनिट में काम करेगा उसको 10 नंबर मिलेंगे। तो अब हमारे पास लोग जो हैं वो बाकायदा सिफारिशें कराते हैं कि जो मुझे फलां बेसिक हेल्थ यूनिट में लगा दें, काम पे लगा दें। So now we have doctors in the basic health units. We have doctors now working at the level of rural health center. We employed 5,000 nurses. Now, actually, there should be 4 nurses to a doctor. यह हमारा उल्टा हिसाब है। We have got 4 doctors to a nurse. लेकिन जितने थे हमने उनको ले लिया। इस वक्त 5,000 नर्सों को हमने एम्प्लॉय किया। पैरामेडिकल स्टाफ उसमें से हमने कोई तकरीबन 5,000 पैरामेडिकल स्टाफ में, और लॉन्ग विद पैरामेडिकल स्टाफ इसमें फार्मासिस्ट भी हैं, अवे फ्रॉम द पैरामेडिकल स्टाफ हमने 550 तो फार्मासिस्ट हायर किए। एंड वी थॉट हाउ कुड यू एक्चुअली एक्सपेक्ट एनी इंस्टीट्यूशन टू वर्क अगर उसके बंदे ही ना पूरे हो। और बहुत मुश्किल से जो अभी एक सिलसिला जारी है, हमने कोई तकरीबन इस वक्त जो वैकेंसीज हैं वो तकरीबन 25% पे ले आए। और हैरानी की ये बात है कि बरसों से प्रमोशनें भी नहीं हुई थी, 6-6 साल हो गए, 7-7 साल हो गए, और इस वक्त अब अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हर 15 दिनों के बाद एक प्रमोशन बोर्ड बैठता है और जिन लोगों की प्रमोशनें होनी होती हैं हो रही है। अब हमारे पास ये 300 सीटें प्रोफेसरों की खाली हैं। तो मैंने जब नाराज़ हुई, मैंने कहा क्यों खाली है? उन्होंने कहा मैडम जो तो है ना डायरेक्ट रिक्रूटमेंट वो तो हमारी भर गई है साहब, और जो प्रमोशन वाली है वो नहीं। मैंने कभी क्यों? उन्होंने कहा इस वजह से कि उनका वक्त ही नहीं पूरा हुआ, उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं पूरी हुई। एंड दैट द ट्रेजेडी वाज कि वी वर वर्किंग ऑन एडहॉकिज्म। एक बंदे को लेते थे, उसको जब आप लेते हैं तो उसकी ना एक्सपीरियंस ना हो रहा था ना कुछ। सो व्हाट वी डिड वाज वी ट्राइड टू इंश्योर कि एवरीबडी हु वाज वर्किंग got a regular post so that he could now his every tenure should be counted. अच्छा, उसका अब फ़ायदा ये हो गया है कि हमने अपने को तकरीबन 30% बेसिक हेल्थ यूनिट्स और रूरल हेल्थ सेंटर्स को 24/7 कर दिया। यानी वहाँ दिन के अंदर तो डॉक्टर मौजूद होते, शाम के वक्त लेडी हेल्थ विजिटर्स और नर्सेस की वजह से हमारी बर्थिंग यूनिट्स शुरू हो गई। अब अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वी have institutionalized deliveries because this is the latest. According to the latest research, if you want to save mothers, they should deliver in an institution so that you can pick up those 15% complications which are life-threatening and they can be timely referred to tertiary care hospital. So keeping that point in view, अब इस वक्त हमारी basic health units के अंदर 30% जो है round the clock काम कर रहे हैं और इसी तरह पूरी कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि हमारे रूरल हेल्थ सेंटर्स भी काम करें। जो कल हमने एक इनॉग्रेशन की है वो मैं ज़रूर बताना चाहूँगी, अब क्योंकि आप सारे माशाल्लाह बहुत सारे लोग बाहर से आए हैं, आप तो रोज़मर्रा देखते हैं कि ये एक रेफरल सिस्टम है। पर कोई बंदा टर्शियरी केयर में ऐसे थोड़ी चला जाता है कि आप खड़े हो जाओ इमरजेंसी में जाके, या आप खड़े इमरजेंसी में तो आप जा सकते हैं बट आप खड़े हो जाए जाके आउटडोर में लाइन लग जाएगी आउटडोर की, नहीं, वहाँ कोई भी बंदा ऐसे नहीं जाता, वहाँ आप एक रेफरल स्लिप के साथ जाते हैं। अब इतना बड़ा हमारा अस्पताल है, 15 लाख लोग इस अस्पताल के अंदर आते हैं आउटडोर के अंदर, उन 15 लाख लोगों के अंदर से 1 लाख से 1.25 लाख की सर्जरी होती है और उसके अंदर हमारी इंडोर को जो है वो तकरीबन 6-7 लाख है। अब मकसद ये है कि वो जो बाकी आते हैं वो क्यों आए थे अस्पताल के अंदर, क्या हम उनके लिए कुछ कर नहीं सकते थे बाहर? तो हमने एक रेफरल सिस्टम डेवलप किया एंड आई लाइक टू गिव क्रेडिट टू डॉक्टर महमूद शौकत along with PMA people that they sat down and they have developed a proper referral system। और कल हमने इनॉग्रेशन की है जिना की, जहाँ हमने उसकी बाहर जो पेरिफेरल 3 क्लिनिक्स हैं उसके अंदर जिना के डॉक्टर्स जो हैं फ्रॉम दी स्पेशलाइज्ड हेल्थ केयर वो जाके बैठे हैं। एंड द मोस्ट ब्यूटिफुल कमेंट दैट आई हैड वाज व्हेन आई वेंट टू इनॉग्रेट इट, तो मरीज आ गए थे अंदर, एक खातून खड़ी हुई थी तो उन्होंने मेरा हाथ पकड़ लिया, मैंने कहा जी, तो मुस्कुरा के कहने लगी डॉक्टर साहब मैं आपका शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहिए। मैं हंस पड़ी, मैंने किस चीज़ का? उसने कहा मैं बच्ची थी तब से आ रही थी इधर, ये इबादत रोड की बात मैं कर रही हूँ। उसने कहा मैं जब बच्ची थी तो तब भी से मैं यहाँ आ रही हूँ, लेकिन अगर घर का कोई मसला मैं पड़ता था तो वो कहते थे या गंगाराम चले जाओ या जिना चले जाओ, वहाँ कोई स्पेशलिस्ट देखेगा तो फिर आपको पता चलेगा। आज इतनी खुशी हुई है कि हर स्पेशलिस्ट, यानी वी हैड अ मेडिकल स्पेशलिस्ट सिटिंग देयर, वी हैड एन ऑप्थेल्मोलॉजिस्ट सिटिंग देयर, वी हैड a gynecologist sitting there. So by itself, you don't understand how important it is for people to know that they have been given specialized care right at the doorstep. Or inshallah, we start working on it and we work on that model. I assure you, there would be a reduction in at least 40% of the people visiting this hospital. अब इस वक्त हम मेयो अस्पताल का मॉडल डेवलप कर रहे हैं। अब मकसद ये है कि अगर कोई रेफरल इस क्लिनिक पे आएगा, जैसे मैंने जिना का बताया, उसको एक नीले रंग की पर्ची मिल जाएगी अगर उसने दाखिल होना है, और उस पर्ची को लेके वो जिना चला जाएगा। वहाँ एक वो क्या कहते हैं, एक कियोस्क लगा हुआ होगा या काउंटर विच विल बी ब्लू इन कलर, वो वहाँ जाएगा, वो उसको डायरेक्ट कर देगा कि तुमने मेडिसिन में जाके दाखिल होना है, तुमने सर्जरी में दाखिल। He doesn't have to be seen by anybody there because he's already been seen by a program right outside. So that is what is extremely important, is developing a proper referral system. And people who have come from outside Pakistan, they do understand how important these referral systems are. So we have initiated it, we are piloting it in Lahore between Mayo and surrounding vicinity, and we're doing the same way. Jinnah is concerned. And after a period of 6 months, because we want to find out what are the teething problems, once we find out what the teething problems are, उसके बाद हमने मज़ीद इंशाल्लाह उसको रेप्लिकेट करना है। 17 हमारे पास अपने कॉलेजेस हैं और कोई तकरीबन 18 हमारे पास प्राइवेट मेडिकल कॉलेजेस हैं। एंड ऑफ द डे प्राइवेट मेडिकल कॉलेजेस के जो अस्पताल हैं वो भी तो आखिर उधर भी तो मरीजों ने जाना है, जिसके लिए फिर हमने जो अगली सहूलत है, जो अगला रिफॉर्म है जो मैं बताना चाह रही हूँ, वो है सेहत सहूलत कार्ड। वी हैव ब्रॉट इन हेल्थ कार्ड्स फॉर द पुअरेस्ट ऑफ पुअर, वो लोग जो गुर्बत की सतह से नीचे रहते हैं, वो लोग जो $2 से कम रोज़ाना कमाते हैं। अब तक तकरीबन 50 लाख फैमिलीज़ को कार्ड मिल गए। ये जो कार्ड वाले लोग हैं ये जनरल अस्पताल में नहीं आते, यहाँ तो ऑलरेडी फ्री ट्रीटमेंट मिल रहा है। इस कार्ड के साथ ये प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल्स में जाते हैं जिनको हमने पैनल कर रखा है। और मुझे बड़ी खुशी हुई कि जब से हमने ये प्रोग्राम शुरू किया है फरवरी से अब तक हमारे पास 1.25 लाख लोगों का डेटा आ गया है जिन्होंने ये कार्ड यूटिलाइज किया है, जिसमें लोगों ने अपने दिल के ऑपरेशन करवाए हैं, अपने घुटने के करवाए हैं, अपनी डायलिसिस करवा रहे हैं, हिस्टेक्टमीज करवाई हैं, सिजेरियंस करवाए हैं. So people have taken advantage of that card, gone into a private institution and taken that facility. So Alhamdulillah, that's a huge contribution to the poorest of the poor. Because if you want to bring people out of poverty, two things that you must assure is, number one, give them the best possible facilities where health is concerned, and also ensure that they get education. So the government of Pakistan, this is Imran Khan's vision. The government of Punjab is exactly working on their vision, and that is why we are ensuring by the time, I think by early next year, we would have distributed 72 lakh cards. 72 लाख कार्ड हमने बांटने और हम 50 लाख पे पहुंच गए, 72 हमारे मुकम्मल हो जाएंगे. और इसके अलावा मैं आपको ये भी बताऊं कि 70,000 डिसेबल्ड लोगों को कार्ड दे दिए गए. Those people who have disabilities. उनकी इज्जत नफ्स बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, चाहे अमीर हो या गरीब हो. They must under all condition be able to go into a health facility and take this. फिर इम्पॉर्टेंट ये चीज़ थी कि our vision is to be totally focused on the sustainable development goals. हम sustainable development goals को मद्देनजर रखते हुए हमने अपनी maternal mortality और neonatal mortality नीचे लेके आनी है. Sorry, infant mortality नीचे लेके आनी है. The major contributor to your infant mortality is neonatal mortality. उसको हमने कम करना है. अब उसको कम करने के लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? अब तक हम जब जिस ज़माने में मैं PMA में सदर थी पाकिस्तान की, तो मेरे जनरल सेक्रेटरी होते थे शेरशाह सैयद. हम 2 गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट इकट्ठे हो गए. अब 2 गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट ने माओ की सेहत के बारे में, ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग और एक रौला इसी में डाला रखा था. तो लोगों ने कहा था कि आप एसोसिएशन का नाम चेंज करके उसको पाकिस्तान मैटरनिटी एसोसिएशन बना दें. आजकल लोग मेरे पे ये तोहमत लगा रहे हैं कि ये जो मिनिस्टर आएंगे, ये इनकी पूरी कोशिश है कि सारे अस्पतालों को मैटरनिटी होम्स बना दें. No, that's not the purpose. The most vulnerable part of your society, वो जो सबसे कमज़ोर तबका है, वो माँ और बच्चा है. और आप किसी अस्पताल में चले जाए, ओवर क्राउडिंग कहाँ नजर आएगी आपको ओवर क्राउडिंग गायनी के डिपार्टमेंट में नजर आएगी, बेड पे 2-2 मरीज नजर आएंगे, और पीडियाट्रिक में जाएं तो 3-3, 4-4 बच्चे के इंक्यूबेटर में नजर आएंगे. यही आप देखेंगे. बाकी अस्पताल वार्ड जो हैं उसके अंदर 10-15 बेड या चलो 4-5 बेड तो आपको खाली मिलेंगे. बाहर आप जाओ, सारे बेड खाली पड़े होते हैं. गायनी ऑब्स्टेट्रिक के मरीज, अच्छा वो जो गायनी ऑब्स्टेट्रिक के डबल मरीज आते हैं, उससे वो बेड ऑक्यूपेंसी भी अपनी बढ़ा लेते हैं. जी साड़ी बेड ऑक्यूपेंसी बहुत अच्छी है. अच्छा थोड़ा मेडिसिनल वार्ड तो खाली हो भी खाली, और बाजी वो गायनी के डिपार्टमेंट देखो ना, 2-2 मरीज एक बेड पे पहने ने थे automatically the occupancy. So we are now constructing 5 state-of-the-art mother and child hospitals in the periphery, which is Miawali, Atak, Rajanpur, Layya and Bhavanagar. Right out in the periphery, we are building 5 mother and child hospitals. We are building a mother and child hospital in Sialkot. We are building the quaternary mother and child hospital in the heart of the city in Gangana, in which we are bringing in all the 4 subspecialties. And this will be the first time that a specialized hospital is going to be created, which is going to have gynecological oncology, which is going to have urogynecology, which is going to have fetal medicine, and it will have assisted reproductive health. So all of that is going to be put up there. So why should we not look after the most vulnerable part of our society? We are converting children hospital. We are upgrading it to a university. Now there was a huge argument with me. And again, with an excuse, मैं माफ़ी चाहती हूँ अगर किंग एडवर्ड मेडिकल यूनिवर्सिटी वाले नाराज़ हो गए इस बात से. मुझसे बहस हो रही थी तो मैंने उनसे कहा, जी यूनिवर्सिटी तो वो बननी चाहिए जिसकी आपको ज़रूरत है. बच्चों के मसले में क्या रिसर्चेस है हमारे पास? एक आपके पास ऐसी इंस्टीट्यूशन होनी चाहिए जो हर किस्म की रिसर्च बच्चों के मसले मसाइल में करे, और जो सब स्पेशलिटीज़ हैं उनके सब स्पेशलिस्ट प्रोड्यूस करें. वो कौन प्रोड्यूस करेगा? अगर हम कॉलेज ऑफ फिजिशियन सर्जन्स की बात करें तो 5 सब स्पेशलिटीज़ वहाँ काम कर रहे हैं। अगर हम ट्रेनिंग की बात करें तो कॉलेज जो हमारा चिल्ड्रन कॉम्प्लेक्स है उसके पास 32 सब स्पेशलिटीज़ हैं। All those 32 subspecialties have to be developed if we want that our children should be looked after. So we're working on converting it to a university, and I assure you that university is more important than any other university because it's going to give us evidence. अभी मैं आपको पता है कि जब भी मेरी मुलाकात अपने वाइस चांसलर से होती है तो सबको मैं एक ही बात करती हूँ, आप अपनी रिसर्च जो है ना प्लीज स्ट्रेंथन दैट। कोई दुनिया में मुल्क जो है वो अपनी पॉलिसीज जो हैं वो बगैर एविडेंस के नहीं बनाते। हम माशाल्लाह ऐसा मुल्क है जो प्रेसिडेंसीज में बनाते हैं। मुझे कितने ने हेपेटाइटिस मरीज अच्छा है करो अगले साल डबल हो जाकर डबल कर दो बजट, क्योंकि वी वर सपोजिंग, यू नो, वी कीप ऑन सपोजिंग थिंग्स, वी कीप ऑन टॉकिंग विदाउट नंबर्स, वी कीप ऑन टॉकिंग विदाउट फिगर्स, वी कीप ऑन टॉकिंग अबाउट we have absolutely no idea what sort of workload that you have in your hospitals. How many patients with respiratory problems have come in? How many patients with gastrointestinal problems? What was their source? We don't work that way. So inshallah, our vision is that our universities are going to become the hub of research now. They have to do research work. They have to start working on public health research because we need to know exactly what is going to be done in future. I've already told them कि आपके जो figures और statistics आएंगे और आपका जो काम आएगा उसी के ऊपर अब आपको बजट मिलेगा, उसी के ऊपर आपको बजट मिलेगा। ये नहीं होगा कि जी हमारा जो है वो 2700 बेडेड अस्पताल है, हम ये पूछेंगे उस 2700 बेडेड अस्पताल ने क्या क्या काम किया और जिसने डिपार्टमेंट में सबसे ज़्यादा काम किया उसको ज़्यादा बजट देंगे because that department will be requiring more budget than anybody else. So we are working on that, and inshallah next year that I meet you we will have a very firm policy on it that the budgets and the policy is going to be in line with each other, and the budgets will be given according to the performances of the units which are working. And I assure you, if we do not have this evidence, it would be impossible for us to bring about any change. We have already developed a strategic framework for the next 10 years in which we had a huge workshop. We had more than 300 participants which were internationally based people who had worked with us. Zulfikar Bhutta was there, Sabeen was there. Then we had all our experts there. Everybody sat down together and we have developed a strategic framework. And one of the most important things that came out of it was nurses. Nurses. आप जो बाहर काम करते हैं आपको भी पता है कि कितनी बड़ी सपोर्ट आपका नर्सिंग कार्ड देता है। We have never considered it. So we are now converting our nursing schools into nursing colleges. We are ensuring that they get a proper degree. We want to ensure that they get proper qualification. They should be given chances of post-graduation, and the number of nurses are going to be increased tenfold so that we could adjust that pyramid which is all upside down. Last but not the least, of course, is the controversial MTI Act. I am calling it controversial because some of the other मुझे बड़ी हैरानी होती है। वो एक होता है ना, मैं एक छोटी सी बात कोट करती हूँ। मेरी बेटी पैदा हुई, I was a student at that time in फातिमा जिन्ना मेडिकल कॉलेज। अब वो बच्ची, पहली बच्ची में आपको कुछ पता नहीं चलता कि भाई क्या कहते हैं, किस तरह संभाले। अब वो रात को रोती थी, उठती थी। अब मकसद ये होता था कि आपको उठ के बच्चे को संभालना पड़ता था and all that। अब मैं, ये तो नहीं मुमकिन ना कि बच्ची रो रही है तो मेरे मियाँ की आँख ना खुली। अब वो कहते हैं डांग लाकर खा बांध रखता से। अब मैं राशिद मैं कहा थोड़ी देर तुम भी इसको देख लो, तो इस तरह बिहेव करते वो कोई जगा ही नहीं सकता था उसको। Nobody could wake him up at that particular time because एक दफ़ा अगर जाग गया तो he will have to take the responsibility। हमारे साथ आजकल यही हाल है। If you do not want to wake up, if you do not want to wake up to a call, then what is going to happen? This system has been there before all of you ever graduated. ये जिस सिस्टम की आज हम बात करें ये एग्जिस्ट करता था। मैं जब फातिमा जिन्ना मेडिकल कॉलेज में पढ़ती थी और मैं जब गंगाराम में पढ़ती थी तो गंगाराम वॉज एन इंडिपेंडेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन। उसको जब गवर्नमेंट ने लेने की कोशिश की थी तो हमने उसके ऊपर प्रोटेस्ट की थी। हमने उसके ऊपर सड़कों पे खड़े आके प्रोटेस्ट किए थे कि इसको मत लेके जाएं, वी आर वेरी हैप्पी विद इट। इंस्टीट्यूशन, उसकी सिलेक्शन जो थी उसी इंस्टीट्यूशन की सिलेक्शन होती थी, एंड इट इज अ वेरी वेल रन हॉस्पिटल विद अ ह्यूज प्राइवेट पार्ट ऑफ इट विच वॉज, उसके प्राइवेट के कमरे कभी खाली नहीं होते थे, आपको बाकायदा लड़ाई करनी पड़ती थी टू गेट अ रूम फॉर योर पेशेंट, कि भाई हमने अपना पेशेंट लेके आया। ओवर द ईयर्स विद द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द प्राइवेट सेक्टर, हमारे जो प्राइवेट कमरे थे सारे अस्पतालों में, उनमें दफ्तर खोल लिए, उसमें कभी एक इसके एमएस का खुला है, किसी एमएस का खुला है, एंड ओवर द ईयर्स ग्रेजुअली आपने वो सारा प्राइवेट सेक्टर बंद कर दिया जहाँ एक दरमियाने तबके का बंदा आ सके। अब आप जब किसी बड़े अस्पताल में जाते हैं, जैसे उमर है, अमार है, तो एक आम सिजेरियन सेक्शन का बिल 2 लाख और 2.5 लाख बनता है। आम आदमी के लिए, एक मिडिल क्लास के लिए तो देना बड़ा मुश्किल काम है। अगर आप उसको एक साफ़ सुथरा कमरा, एक अच्छी जगह दे दें, एक अच्छी एनवायरनमेंट दे दें और कम पैसों में दे दें, तो सब चाहेंगे कि थोड़ा सा मेरे लिए भी सहूलत हो जाएगी। और इसके अलावा ये है कि शाम के वक्त जो अस्पताल में हमारे लोग जो प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, दे विल ऑलवेज बी अवेलेबल फॉर एवरी अदर पेशेंट, और ऐसे ही होता था पहले। आई स्टिल रिमेंबर कि हमारे ऑपरेशन थिएटर के अंदर इकट्ठे ऑपरेशन हो रहे थे कि ये प्राइवेट पेशेंट आया, डॉक्टर बी इसका इसका ऑपरेशन कर ले, ये जी जनरल वार्ड का पेशेंट आया इसका कर ले, मैडम ये हमने करना है, वो जी वीवीएम करे आप ये कर ले। पेशेंट्स वर बीइंग लुक्ड आफ्टर, देयर वाज नेवर एनी प्रॉब्लम। ये नहीं था कि अगर आप प्राइवेट मरीजों का ख्याल कर रहे हैं तो जनरल वार्ड का नहीं कर रहे हैं। आई थिंक इट इज अ टाइम टू थिंक आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स। देयर हैज टू बी अ रीजन फॉर ब्रिंगिंग इन रिफॉर्म्स। इफ थिंग्स वर रनिंग सो वेल, why would we be spending 4.5 million rupees, 45 lakh रुपया per bed? We spend 45 lakh rupees per bed in a teaching hospital. Yet, where the services are concerned, you hear there's no end to complaints. Raheel is sitting here, he's a graduate of this institution and he's a civil servant. इससे पूछे कितनी शिकायतें आती हैं? शिकायतों का अंबार लगा होता है कि जी ये प्राइम मिनिस्टर के पोर्टल में, चीफ मिनिस्टर के पोर्टल में हम गए जी हमारा ख्याल है कि व्हाट इज रॉन्ग, देयर हैज टू बी समथिंग रॉन्ग। व्हाई आर वी नॉट लुकिंग इनटू आवरसेल्व्स एंड थिंकिंग ऑफ इंप्रूविंग द सिचुएशन इफ यू आर गेटिंग एन अपॉर्चुनिटी? एंड द वर्स्ट पार्ट इज द सॉर्ट ऑफ बगैर पता किए, बगैर पढ़े, वो एक्ट किसी ने पढ़ा नहीं होता, वो जो बड़ा गलत है, और जड़ा साड़ा अस्पताल का खाक हो गया वो सब तो ज़्यादा वाला पा रहे होते हैं, और ये बड़ा सख्त गलत किस्म का है, और सारे मरीजों को पैसे देने पे मतलब I can't seem to understand how these things come out. So let me assure you, where the government is concerned, the government is trying its level best, not only to cater free services to all the patients who come into our hospitals, but through the health card have added another 50,000 beds by interning 200 hospitals all over Punjab. हमने ऐड किए बेड्स, and these facilities are further being given to the poor people of Pakistan. So let's be very clear that the government, it's the state's responsibility to look after the health of a person who cannot look after his own health, and we will inshallah work on that. With these words, I'm extremely grateful to the alumni who come from all over the world to come and share their experiences. You're coming in here, sharing your experiences, always enhances knowledge, and I'm sure we'll keep on improving. मैं आप सबकी बहुत ज़्यादा शुक्रगुजार हूँ। आप दिसंबर के महीने में मुसलसल आकर रौनक भी लगाते हैं, और कल हमारा भी है वेरी लवली इवनिंग इन फातिमा जिन्ना मेडिकल कॉलेज ऑल्सो, वहाँ की भी हमारे पुराने जितने ग्रेजुएट्स थे वो भी सारे वहाँ पहुँचे हुए थे, एंड इट वॉज अ वेरी नाइस इवनिंग। आई थिंक इट्स अ गुड थिंग कि हम लोग अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस शेयर करें, एंड बाय दिस एक्सपीरियंस कीप ऑन लर्निंग। थैंक यू अगेन, आई एम वेरी ग्रेटफुल।
Thank you very much, madam. I don't know about you, but I found myself nodding quite vigorously at almost everything that she said. I noted two particular things which strike a chord. One of them is data. She has said that data is important to know what's happening and how to plan for the future. I will mention Professor Mahmood Adil, who has the Business Intelligence Unit in Scotland, which he heads to provide data.
Photographer.
So at the moment, it is Professor Namal Malik giving a shield of thanks to our worthy guest, Professor Yasmin Rashid. I would ask to Professor So thank you very much, Professor Yasmin. I'm afraid she had to leave because of her other commitments. I would now like to invite our last speaker of the day, which is
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for a very kind introduction. It's a great pleasure for me to be presenting my research, giving this talk, the honorable audience. And I can see a lot of my teachers sitting here as well. I'm very thankful for that discussion. I don't have any conflict of interest to declare. So I will begin by just discussing briefly about cardiovascular disease burden, which is the #1 cause of death globally. It represents about 31% of global deaths. 85% of these deaths are due to myocardial infarction and stroke, and over 3/4 of these cardiovascular deaths take place in low and middle income countries such as Pakistan. Of the causes of cardiovascular deaths, atherosclerosis remains one of the leading causes of death and morbidity worldwide. And it has got different sequel in different argument territories. With the aging population and worsening metabolic profiles worldwide, the total global burden of cardiovascular death is increasing. Traditionally, atherosclerosis has been considered as a lipid-laden disease of the arterial wall. Luminal stenosis is considered as an indicator of the severity of the disease burden. And digital suppression angiography is normally used as a measure of the disease burden and to quantify the severity of atherosclerosis itself. But that is primarily because of its ease of measurement on radiological imaging. And large randomized trials and natural history studies have also used luminal stenosis as a measure of disease burden quantification. But we do know that the arterial wall itself remodels. At lower degrees of luminal stenosis, there is what we call positive remodeling. So there is no encroachment of the luminal area at all, and we can completely overlook the atherosclerotic disease burden. It's only when the plaque area has increased beyond 40% that we see the encroachment of the lumen itself. Therefore, luminology itself can underestimate the atherosclerotic disease burden. There has been significant research back in 1990s and early 2000 which showed that patients with lower degrees of luminal stenosis can also have sudden cardiac death. And that is because they would have vulnerable plaques. And this is one of the seminal studies which was performed by Romani from US. There was also a significant amount of work which was done in the 1980s and 1990s. And that showed that there was inflammatory pathways which were dictating the activity within the atheroma itself. And we see a lot of inflammatory effectors and mediators which were driving these atherosclerosis pathways. Now this shows the transition of a non-vulnerable atheroma into a vulnerable atheroma in which there is a fibrous aperture that you can see. And this transition is itself driven by those immune-mediated pathways. So do we still call atherosclerosis a lipid-laden disease of the arterial wall? After all those significant findings and seminal studies? The answer is no. Atherosclerosis itself is a systemic inflammatory disease. And this is a paradigm shift that dictates the way we should be treating this disease nowadays. inflammation and neovascularization are intertwined in this disease process. And by using different imaging modalities, we are able to image those different pathways and then use targeted therapy to provide better treatment to the patients. It's very difficult because of time constraints for me to talk about all those imaging modalities, but what I can say is that magnetic resonance imaging is the imaging modality of choice. That is primarily because it is non-radiating, it is repeatable, it is reproducible, it has got good image resolution. This is one of the studies we performed using 1.5 Tesla MR centered across the carotid bifurcation, looking at the carotid atherosclerotic area, and then honing in on the carotid atheroma on the affected side. By using different contrast weightings, we can identify the fibrous gap, we can identify the lipid core, and we can also measure the blood burden as well. By using black blood imaging, we can quantify whether this patient has got a high-risk clot, which would have clot hemorrhage, which would have a ruptured fibrous gap, and by doing so, we would be able to identify those patients who are at high risk of having a stroke. And this is one of the seminal studies which I performed 10 years ago. But we do know that the arteries are very dynamic, and there are a lot of stresses and strains which are associated with the arterial wall function. And that is why the biomechanical assessment of the atheroma is also very important, if we want to have a comprehensive risk quantification of the arterial wall. Biomechanically, we know that whenever the load on the fibrous cap increases, it leads to a fibrous cap rupture. And this is what causes the sequelae such as stroke or myocardial infarction. By using this information and also the information that we acquire from the MR, we can quantify the stress maps at the high stresses. And this can help us provide a better quantification of where the high stresses are within an artery, and that can predict the areas of future clot rupture. This is one of the earliest seminal studies which I performed, in which we showed that patients who had acute stroke, once we follow them up with MR imaging, 3 variables which are identified here as critical stress, fibrous gap rupture, and clot hemorrhage can be used to predict the subsequent cerebrovascular events. And since then, there has been a flurry of these studies performed in different centers worldwide. But we did not stop there. We carried on and tried to use further imaging using phase contrast, which can determine the arterial stiffness of the artery itself. And here is a graph that shows that a patient who was on a high dose of statin of 80 milligrams had improved arterial stiffness, so the arterial compliance was improving. And we do know that the hardening of the artery is the earliest sign before a plaque rupture or atherosclerotic burden would build up. So we can all look into MR imaging to risk quantify these patients in a more precise manner. MR imaging also can help us quantify the clot neovascularization, because neovascularization within the atheroma is associated with plaque hemorrhage, and plaque hemorrhage itself is a sign of plaque vulnerability. And how we do it is by using what we call dynamic contrast enhanced MR. So it determines or it quantifies the washout of contrast through those small vasovasora which are within the atheroma itself. And by doing that, we can determine the vasovasora permeability. And this has got an association with the inflammatory burden. And these were the seminal studies which were performed from the University of Washington by Kerwin. So we've used this technique in determining the vulnerability of carotid plaques, but we also gone beyond that and looked into vertebral artery atheroma, which is quite a small artery, visible on the MR imaging. And what we saw was that patients who had a previously symptomatic carotid had higher permeability of their vertebral artery atheroma, showing that atherosclerosis is a systemic inflammatory disease rather than a localized disease. Dynamic contrast MR also has the potential to allow the assessment of effectiveness of novel anti-neovascularization drugs. We're talking about medications which still haven't come up to the market yet. We're relying on statins, but these things are still being developed. With MR, we can also quantify the plaque inflammation. And the product which we use is called amoxicillin, which has got an iron core and a dextran coating. And this is taken up by the macrophages. So what we're saying is that we can image the macrophages within the atheroma. And it shows up as black spots, which are shown by these yellow arrows on these MR images. By using this technique, we've quantified that high-dose statins do reduce the inflammatory burden within these atheroma and can act as a plaque stabilizing agent. This is a cartoon shows how this USPIO is taken up. We can see the macrophages which are going through the lumen, and the USPIO particles are being taken up by that macrophage. It goes into the subintima. On exposure to the MR, it shows its paramagnetic effect, and that is what shows up as black spots on the MR. And that helps us quantify the inflammatory burden. But there is another pathway which this uses, and that is the permeability through the vasovasorum of this USPIO particle. So we're talking about the functional assessment of the atherosclerosis, and this is very much against the old concept of determining atherosclerosis as a lipid-laden disease only, but more of a systemic inflammatory disease which can be quantified and assessed using MR besides other imaging modalities. But do all vulnerable plaques lead to vulnerable patients? The answer is no. There have been a series of studies which have shown that in a patient who has been symptomatic, there are stages of atheroma which are present within the coronary artery tree, and they can be either ruptured or non-ruptured. Therefore, just relying on a ruptured plaque and making a diagnosis of a high-risk patient is not precise. So we should be looking at the patient in total and as a whole individual. There are certain other factors which are also very important to consider. These include whether this patient is prothrombotic, whether he has got any vasoconstriction within his coronary artery tree, whether this patient has got any hypoxia, whether he's got any ischemia reperfusion, and all these factors can determine whether this patient is a vulnerable patient. This is one of the largest meta-analyses which was published in Lancet last year from the Global Burden of Disease study, and it showed that these are the risk factors which we all know of, but this is the fact that we need to treat them rather than just treating a plaque with statins and antiplatelet therapy. Because without treating or modifying these risk factors, I'm afraid that we're not going to win the battle against atherosclerosis. United Nations has got these development goals which are quite lofty. The second one seems to suggest that we need to have 50% of the eligible patients who should be on drug treatments or should have some counseling. But is this achievable in middle to lower income countries? I'm quite skeptical about this recommendation, but this is one of the goals which has to be achieved by 2030. So what is the ground reality? The ground reality is that it's quite concerning that the large reduction in atherosclerotic vascular disease is no longer apparent in many world regions despite impressive advances in technical capacity for preventing and treating cardiovascular disease. And this is quite a stark reality that we have to get used to. So what am I suggesting? Do we use a top-down approach or do we use a bottom-up approach? I think we need to use a continuum of personalized patient care, which includes simultaneous efforts and risk factor modification, reinforcement at each consultation, use of patient information sheets. Community and public health awareness is paramount importance, and I think media is very, very important in this regard. Use of broad spectrum anti-atherosclerotic drugs, which we all know about, like statins, can be used, and they should be used. Polypill therapy, which includes a combination of antiplatelets and statins together, can improve the patient compliance. And all these first 4 points that I mentioned here, they can be used easily. They in the low or middle income countries such as Pakistan. However, in developed countries, we have got ongoing efforts towards targeting and anti-sclerotic therapies with imaging, and we are developing vaccination against atherosclerosis. And this is something where the future is. And what we're trying to do is change a plaque, which you can see in the first photo, which is ruptured and has caused a symptom, and convert it into a stable arterial wall, which has been modeled by using the strategies that I've listed and talked about before. I would like to acknowledge all these sponsors and funding bodies who have sponsored and helped me doing my research for the past 15 years. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you, Omar. A true scientist with insight and understanding. I think any of medical students who aspire to be academicians and researchers, Omar is an excellent role model to look up to and emulate. And I'm sure that you will find support from him as well if you are interested in any scientific projects, either now or in the future. As you will probably know, we held a poster competition regarding novelty, innovation, and development of the delivery of health services. We had a good response. We shortlisted 10 abstracts which are on display just outside this hall. And I'm very pleased to say that we have donors who have given 3 cash prizes. The first prize is for 50,000 rupees, and the second and third 2 prizes are 25,000 rupees each. So it is my great pleasure to invite my colleague and friend from the UK, Dr. Mohammed Tufel, to announce the prizes, and also Professor Mahmood Malik to give them away. Thank you.
Your immense efforts for arranging all these poster competition. So we had quite a high quality abstracts submitted to us. So we shortlisted 11 of them, and we had 11 posters displayed today, and we do have first, second and third prize, but I can tell you the third prize has to be divided among 2 people because we really could not separate them apart. They were quite high quality ones. So our first prize goes to the poster presented by Psychiatry Department, Mayo Hospital, on supporting children's mental health in schools, and they have conducted a randomized controlled trial. I would like to invite Dr. Nazish Imran. Promote basic life support at non-medical institutions, and that is by Dr. Sadia Ahsan. So for third prize, I'm afraid we have got 2 winners here. So I would like to invite both of them to come to stage, please. The first one is by Dr. Ataf Munir on structured education for type 1 diabetes, understanding in Pakistan. And the second one is National Patient Referral Program by Dr. Javeria Hayat. Please go come. Dr. Javeria Hayat. gives our post presentation. Just to remind you that the first prize was donated by our CPD lead in memory of his late grandfather, Mia Muhammad Aslat Gujar, and the other two prizes were donated by our General Secretary, Dr. Kavinder Duggal. Thank you to both of them.
Duty to give a gift in acknowledgement to Umar Sadat. So this is a gift of a book written by Professor Khwaja Sadiq Hussain, a great teacher and a great mentor and a kind of great patriarch of all the medical community, teachers and students. He's old enough to be, I think, my father, and he's old enough to be probably your great-grandfather, people sitting at the back. But he's still around, very energetic and intellectually very cerebral. So he has sent this book specially to be presented to Professor Umar Sadat. So I will request. Give the shields away. Just request Malik to give away these memorabilia to the speakers of today's sessions. Dr. Kavinder Duggal, please, if you could come to the stage. Dr. Mohammed Tufail, please. Next is myself, so I'll be honored to shake hands with Professor Mahmood Ali Malik. We have run out of speakers. I think the variety is still here. Have you got? Khalid Masood Gondal, without whose untiring efforts this symposium would not have been possible. I can tell you that he's been the heart and soul of this symposium. He left everything you see, including the flowers, were personally put in by himself. He left at 1:30 this morning and came back at 8 o'clock. So I'm very grateful, Khalid. It is also my privilege to invite Dr. Tanzim Haider, OBE, to please come to the stage and receive a token of a token gift from Professor Khwaja Sadiq Hussain. Tanzim Haider is heavily involved in teaching and training of doctors at the Royal College of Physicians. He is a pioneer in the development of acute medical units and acute medical care in the United Kingdom. Very long career of training, teaching and serving the people of the city. So we recognize your efforts as a kind teacher and we are very grateful. And I think most of us are here, or many of us are here, are your students. So thank you, Professor Mijit Chaudhary. Shafi, who's been at the forefront of developing cardiology services, not only in this city, but also across the province. There is a saying that jahan bhi gaye dastan chhoda hai. So go to Naeem like to honor Dr. Abdul Bari Khan, who is a stalwart who has gone ahead and developed services on a non-profit basis for the common masses of this country. I'm employing high technology to serve common people. So thank you very much, Abdul Bari Khan Sahab, who's come all the way from Karachi for his presentation today. Thank you. Again, it is my pleasant duty to invite Professor Irshad Hussain to say a few words of thanks, and then I will wrap it up.
I'm thankful, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, really thankful to all the organizing team. This is about 6th year when I am the chairman of the organizing committee of the symposium. I still remember when I was assistant professor and the scientific symposium was going on, and in forensic theatre there was a lecture. I reached at 8 a.m. and Professor Iftikhar Ahmed Marhoom was there as chairman. And in the hall at that time there was a chairman, there was a coordinator and moderator, myself, the only audience, and 3 speakers. The 6th person were there. So I will give credit to the Vice Chancellor Khalid Bondar Sahib. There were 4 lecture theatres today and all were full of capacity. I am thankful to my whole team, the Chief Advisor Professor Asad Aslam, Professor Asghar Naqi as a Secretary Organizing Committee, then Professor Aisha Shaukat, the Chairman Scientific Committee, Professor Ijaz Hussain, Finance Committee, Professor Rafia, Hall Decoration Committee, and Professor Dil Awais as a Transport Committee, and Publication Committee, Professor Saira Afzal, Audiovisual Professor Harun Hamid sir, and Professor Saeed Ahmed sir for today's function. And I am also thankful to President Kemkana as well as President Kemka UK, and they are going to speak today at night dinner. And thanks to all. Particularly I am thankful to my ward, East Medical Ward. They were present at 8:30 a.m. and half of the hall was full. I am thankful to Dr. Azimuddin Zahid, and I still remember Atar Saeed. His room was just in front of my room, room 34 in New Hostel, and he was living in front of us. And one of his friends used to come at 8 and Quraishi. All of them, I'm sorry, jaag jate the, lekin Quraishi nahi uthta tha janab. So thanks to all of them. Thank you very much. And lunch is ready just in front of all.
For all the speakers, there is a social event and a dinner tonight in this hall. Please do come. Thank you. And see you next year.
Invited on banquet at 7:30 sharp. Thank you and thank you very much. And special thanks to the media people also. Amir Balag and all his colleagues, I think they are there. We are very grateful to you all.